Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing Godless, the EASTFIELD Exorcism. Ooh. All right, let me introduce my crew, starting off with the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm excellent. Haven't been visited by an exorcist yet.
Yet, he says.
Yet.
Wait till the fog gets outside. All right.
Although
also,
my wife's at choir practice, you never know who she's going to come home with.
That sounds like a different problem. But all right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, sorry. I was dancing with the devil a little bit there. I'm doing well.
The pale moonlight? No, that's
the pale moonlight.
Yeah, you knew I was going to do that.
I always ask that of all my exorcists. What?
I wish you would. That would be awesome. Wouldn't that be fun? No, it wouldn't. But let's keep going. All right, we are going to review Godless, the EASTFIELD Exorcism, a film that is coming out now soon and recently played at the Overlook Film Festival. Have you been to the Overlook Film Festival, or is that still on your bucket list to go to?
It's on my bucket list to go to. I think when they first started it, they actually played it like in one of the hotels from the Shining or whatever. But I think now it's like in Louisiana. But yeah, and I have a lot of filmmaker friends. Actually, some of the filmmakers that screened at Renegade Film Festival, some of their films screened there. So it's a really good film festival. It's definitely one of those film festivals I hope in the future I can have one of my films screen at. So yeah, it's a very acclaimed festival. So that's cool that this film screened there.
Very much so. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off giving you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler free. Then we'll dive into a discussion. During that discussion, we might spoil a thing or two. So just keep that in mind. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend button. Each click is easy and free to do, and will help us find more horror fans just like you. Yay. All right, let's take a look at the card and get things going, shall we? Boink. All right, Godless, the EASTFIELD Exorcism 2023 from XYZ Films, available on VOD beginning April 6, 2023. The synopsis is Lara is a woman torn between science and faith, pushed by her husband to seek treatment from a congregation of zealots. A ruthless exorcist will try to save her soul by putting an innocent woman through hell. Directed by Nick Kozakis, written by Alexander Anglis Wilson, Sarah Baker, Jason Buckley, and Pablo Zabieta. The cast includes Georgia Ayers, Dan Ewing, Tim Pocock, Rosie Traynor, John Wood, Eliza Montagu, and Ella Bourne. I think I screwed up one name. I think I did better than usual.
You did better. I think you did better, but again, we don't know the full pronunciation of those names. So
yeah, there's one in there with a goo in it that I think I might have goobered, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it, right? The
devil made you do it.
Yeah, excellent. I wish I had thought of that. All right, let's get into this and find out what we think. We're going to start off with the man at the top of there, Christopher G. Mohr. What was your first impression of Godless?
Let me first say I understand what they're going for here. I think that this is one of those films that it doesn't bury the lead. It's straight off. It knows the type of story it's wanting to tell, but the problem is it to me it's like an R-rated after school special to some degree, or if you've seen like some of like this is like the non-Christian version of those Christian films. It's about some specific thing, and this is that, and dealing with just sort of the extremists and religion, and how a lot of times it's just ridiculous what some of these people do in the name of God, I guess. But I didn't like this film. This film annoyed me. I don't know. I feel like I think because it was so on the nose for with what it's doing, and it was like so overly dramatic, like overly dramatic. It tries to do these jump scares, but it just does the same thing over and over, where just she'll be staring at something and then they'll just show an image of something really quick, and it's not scary, and even the things that they're creating look dorky, um, and I guess by the end it's like I will say that the ending is kind of shocking. It's like, oh God, this is horrible. And I just got so annoyed with the husband because he was so like, he came off very gaslighting and just annoying and like, I know it all. And what you're saying, and he just seemed like a horrible person. And I was like, this girl needs to get away from him, let alone these crazy religious people. And you just have like this a-hole exorcist dude who's like, yeah, you take like an exorcist and you just make him a total sadist. And I just know the whole, I don't know. I think there's a better way to tell this type of story that you don't come away like nobody's really doing anything. Even in the end, nobody's really doing anything. And I guess it's based on a true story. But that's the whole point of movies. Is adding a little bit more interesting elements in it. But this just like the majority of the people that were annoying and nobody really did anything. And it's like, if your movie's a message movie, that's fine, but sprinkle some entertaining or more interesting things in it than just trying to replicate what's been done in the movie The Exorcist and other films that are better at sort of telling that. Yeah. And this is one of those things that kind of, you're trying to figure out, well, is a person possessed or are they just mentally ill? And maybe if she'd taken her medication, this movie would have ended like 5 minutes in. But yeah, this movie annoyed me. And again, I understand the concept and I understand the idea. And I think it's horrible what a lot of people do in real life. There's been the kids that have been like smothered in the process of trying to do these extreme exorcisms by people that just think they're doing God's work and they're not. They're just being maniacal and sadists. Yeah, I just didn't. I guess I did. I understand the point, but I didn't get the point of how they told it in this film. So, yeah, God, this is. I would retitle this pointless.
No.
For me, again, I appreciate what they're going for, and I understand it's a horrible problem, but there could have been a better way of telling this story that they didn't do in this film. For me.
For you. Jeff Mohr, sir, what was your first impression of Godless?
Welcome to an episode of Point Counterpoint.
I
kind of like this. I get what Chris is saying about the the flashes of the horrifying things that we see, which, as it always is, we don't know whether it's hallucinations or the real thing or whatever's going on. But I just watched not too long ago a documentary about Waco that really got into the detail of all the things that David Koresh did and his people did and all the things that the government did, and what a cluster. But to me in this, it rang true, and it's really about, I don't think it's too spoilery to say it's really about the horrible things people do to each other based on what I would call misapplied beliefs or misinterpreted beliefs or misinterpreted information or following a Messiah type leader, whatever. I mean, when you think about all the different things that have happened between Jonestown and I forget who was the guy in Southern California. The spaceship was going to come and take them all away, and they did the same thing. So this isn't that weird that he got all those people to do that. And I found it terribly horrifying for the main character. I thought she did a great job, Georgia Ayers or Ears, as Lara. I thought she was excellent, because she's got to come from a lot of different directions. And I thought her husband and the exorcist were good too, because I hated him. And I think that's what you're kind of supposed to do. The husband is trying to do the best he can. He's trying to follow a belief in what other people are telling him should happen. And there's also, a little dilemma with Christopher talked about, if she just took the medication, which is what the idea you get from the movie. But I also know people that are on medication that are not like better, So it goes both ways. I would never tell anybody to quit taking medication. Never, ever, ever. But sometimes it's just too easy to do stuff like that. So I get the whole point of this. And I thought the whole thing was scary as shit. It gave me the creeps, made me feel uncomfortable and put me on edge. And then the way that it's twisted at the end too, doesn't matter what really happened. It's how you spin it, I guess. So yeah, I was disturbed by this film.
Yeah, were you afraid of the exorcism or the exorcist? That's the question.
No, yeah.
This movie rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't find it very entertaining. I found it kind of like, no pun intended, it was preachy. And it I'm struggling to get the right words without being insulting, because it kind of made me, it confused me a lot. Like, is this supposed to be, what is this supposed to be? Is this supposed to be an exorcism film, or is it supposed to be some kind of, is it supposed to be a religious film? Is it supposed to be an anti-religious film? What is actually going on here? And there's a lot in that respect, but it wasn't told in a entertaining, interesting, or engaging way. And I found that, if this exorcism is supposed to be guiding all these people in a certain way, that the character needed more charisma. There wasn't enough charisma in that character to lead all these people in such an extreme way. So I did not enjoy this movie. I did not find it scary, and a tad predictable, except for, they did get big. Well, I'm not going to say much about it, but it went a little more dark than I thought it was toward the end. But yeah, I'm not a fan of this movie. I think it's to me, it feels like a reenactment film, and I just didn't find that entertaining. At some point, it didn't start out that way, but at some point it started feeling like they were a little too locked in telling the story on which it was based, instead of telling a story. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense, but maybe you get that. It got locked up into the point instead of in the way it needs to tell that point. That doesn't make any sense either. Yeah. I'm going to shut up.
No. I think it was so focused on the message, and whatever. I don't know how true to the event it is, but it's the elements that are definitely true to a lot of these cases out there. Without, as someone that grew up, I consider myself to be a Christian, so that's why movies like The Exorcist scare the crap out of me. This movie did nothing for me. This just, but again, I think it definitely does a good job of showing these people just being like so like over the top and almost like worse than what they're trying to supposedly exercise to some degree.
Right.
And there's such a sadism to it. And again, there's a lot of religions that sort of go to that, like people that play with snakes and do all these different things. There's people that do all these things that go to some extremes, and then they go off and say, "Oh, Satanists are so bad," but then they're doing such horrible things to their own congregation. And so I see what they're going for, but I don't know. I think storytelling wise, I mean, I feel like the actress did a great job. I hated, and more than just I hated the character of the boyfriend who's just like Hemsworth light is what I call him. He
What? Who light?
Hemsworth. He's like one of the Hemsworth brothers, but not good.
He's like a cousin. He's like a cousin.
Yeah, he's like
removed.
He's like yeah. He's
this is an Australian film.
The Hemsworth DNA didn't reach him, reach very far. I don't like. I think his acting is like on the level of those Christian movies, like those bad Christian movies, like Kirk Cameron does. It was, and I think that's a weird thing. This film felt like it was made like those, Christian movies that take like supernatural things, but there's a Christian message to it, but it hits you so over the head with the Christian message. It seems so plasticky. And there's elements of this that felt like that. Now, granted, when it gets straight into the stuff involving the exorcist, it's like, oh God, this is hard. I can't stand him being so abusive and stuff, especially by the end, which was kind of shocking for me. It's like, okay, they went there, but I don't know. I felt like they had all these elements that and maybe just because the subject matter just turned me off so much. It's like, I understand it. I understand what you're going for, but I kind of wish somebody had come in and actually, I thought the woman was going to save them or something. And they just showed up, the cop and everybody like, oh, well, time to leave. It's like, what was the whole point of this? I mean, I don't know.
I think the point is that, okay, so we're well into spoilers, is that, basically everybody got off with sentences reduced, right? Time served or something?
Killing.
Well, I think the point is like, like behaviors of groups and mobs and stuff, that.
Well, they also had protection under religion too. So they.
Well, I'd call it. Yeah, I mean, I'd call this an anti-religion film, but.
Well, that's what I felt. I felt like they're taking from the playbook of Christian films, but they made it like a bad Christian film. Well, it's shot competently, but
maybe So Mikey Z pointed out in a comment somewhere that I've always talked about this, and he called it loss of self, and I thought that's a good way to put it. That freaks me out is the inability to control what's going on. So like movies like Body Snatchers, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or It Came from Outer Space, where the person that was your parent or your friend is now not that person, but they look like them and no one will believe you, kind of thing. So now she's lost all control over her outcome, right? She's telling the psychiatrist that, yeah, I think the pills are helping, but yet at the same time, she quit taking the pills because they made her sleepy or something. And then her husband won't listen to it. And then she finally folds. It's from the pressures from around them. Same with the people that are all standing in a circle. There was a couple of them there that were like horrified by what was going on. But if they even hinted at disagreeing with what was going on, people attacked them. Or especially the main guy who is like the leader of the group, the exorcist. And so it takes an unusually strong person to act and go against that. And even the psychiatrist who goes and reports to the police, now she's with an authority figure that's not doing, and by now it's too late, right?
Yeah, and they're hampered by laws, right?
It's too late. They can't do anything about it. So anyway. So yeah, to me, it was the thing that creeped me out the most was how she was not in control of what was happening to her. And it was obvious that this was not the best course of action. And everybody around her that had control of what she was doing and what she heard and what she said were leading her to this end. And there was no way she was going to get out of it.
Yeah, there was the one parishioner was definitely manipulating him, manipulating the husband, boyfriend. I guess it is a husband. They shared a last name as character, so it's her second husband.
Although he didn't even know anything about her.
Well, and so then we find things out at the end of the movie about what's causing her psychological trauma. You know, she basically has like an extreme case of PTSD that goes even to hallucinations, right? So
and schizophrenia. Yeah,
yeah,
the doctor said she was schizophrenic.
Well,
So
it seems like that's why she had the symptoms, because she was basically becoming all the different characters from her PTSD.
yeah. So yeah, I found, I don't know.
So that's what disturbed me. I just it's one of those things that scares the shit out of me to be put in that situation. You know?
Well, and I'll say it disturbed me too, but it didn't. It just annoyed me because I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I just wanted to punch the husband because he.
Well, maybe that's what they were after.
I guess so. I guess so.
Well,
and there's people that are stupid that do things that in the name of God and in the name of religion that they put people in harm, thinking they're trying to help, and they're not. And I think that's. But I don't know. I feel like I get the point.
Yeah.
How many times you have to hit me over the head with your point of what you're trying to tell, and.
Three times. I will say that there are a number of effective scenes in here that really are intense. There's the final bit of the exorcism where he's trying to pull the demon out of her mouth is very effective. The reenactment of the crash, from the flashback.
That was that was the only thing that really worked for me.
Yeah.
I mean, well, other than that final part of the exorcism, which was that was
intense. And then and I will say some of the special effects look good. That part where the both the sound and the visuals. I like the corpse looked pretty creepy. Two corpses. I think the burnt corpse and the dead corpse. That's redundant, but you know what I mean. And then I know you didn't like the so-called demon that appeared.
I hated it. It looked
I didn't mind it.
Horrible.
I didn't mind it.
Dorky as hell. It looked like somebody made just.
Well,
like
it looked like
15-year-old made that.
It looked like I think it looked a little better than that, but it looked like a reenactment that you'd find on Deadline or something. You know what I mean? Just enough to get it in there.
It looks like one of those sci-fi channels.
Yeah.
My nightmare demon.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They don't have a very high budget. That just really was very.
But the film doesn't hinge on that, so it didn't bother me.
No. I think for me, stuff worked a little bit later on in the movie. At least parts did, but this.
I will say that got a rise out of me at the end, and I was wanting something to happen, and I was wanting somebody to stand up and clobber the priest at that point.
Well, and I think that's and again, this happens. I think with all of us, we have expectations when we go into a film. A lot of times we shouldn't, and I had expectations that somebody was going to show up and save her, and it's like, well, that thing, and you hear that crack, and God! I mean, I was like revolted. I was like, oh God, this is horrible. And so, I mean, they did a pretty good job of selling that part of it, where it's like, oh man, this is I appreciate what they did there, but I don't like this at all. This ending is so dour and dark, and where do we go from here? And I just felt like, but it even though it hits you over the head with its points, it does make a good point by the end of how just even in, I mean, a lot of the people today that kind of lie through stuff, and they, I kind of figure by the end, it's like, even if everything goes bad, he's going to say, see, she's in a better place. It's like, no matter what you do, they're still going to say they won. And I hate people like that. And him and his always looking in the mirror, drinking, and like,
I just wish it was a little more convincing in that aspect. But to me, that aspect of, which is what I think this film is hinging on, wasn't really convincing. It didn't have enough weight for me to make that point as profound as it's looking to do. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our score 1 to 5 and pick our favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, you are up first.
I'll give this a 2.5.
Wow.
It's in the middle. I gave it, I think stuff towards the end kind of makes up for other stuff, but I still don't like it. As for favorite scene, I'll have to go with the car wreck flashback.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was very effective and well shot and heartbreaking, and also how it kind of informs all the stuff from before. It has that kind of M. Night, the M. Night moment of like, oh, okay, this and this, or so
Kind
I
of
have
locked together, didn't it?
Yeah. It's like, what was it? What's the movie where at the end you find out that he just read everything in the room?
Usual Suspects.
Yeah, Usual Suspects. They had that kind of Usual Suspects moment where it's like, oh, the burnt face guy. Now I know where he's from, or the plumber guy. Yeah, so I'll have to. It's the Mario. So yeah, I have to say that's my favorite scene.
All right, good job. All right, Jeff Mohr. What about you, sir?
I'm giving this a 3.5.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just it struck a couple of chords with me, I think. So as a personal, emotional thing. Favorite scene, he took the fire, so I guess I'm taking the exorcism and the crack noise. But then, also the way everybody reacted, and it like put everything on pause for a minute until he sort of regrouped and then redirected their expectations or whatever,
He was acting like such a bitch, though. God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, you wanna be told it's,
Well, there you go.
This is right.
Yeah. So for me, I'm kind of shocked here because of what I wrote down here, and I thought Christopher was going to give a lesser score than I am, but I only gave this a 2. I was not pleased with this movie. I thought it was, I've already said all that, but so I'm going to shut up on that, and I'm going to pick the scene. So those are the two scenes you picked are the ones that really stick with you. The only other scene which has less impact, I think, just the visual of her, like, because they go into like, okay, she'll rise again in 3 days, right? And then 3 days later, the look on her, just the look of her was probably, for me, the creepiest and scariest thing in the film. Just what was happening there, and they're all, what the I guess the false prophet of it all, and then what she looked like, and then all the people were arriving and circling the house, and camping and congregating, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Just the shot, specifically the overhead shot when it has all the flowers, it's there, and the look on her face, the eyes, the effects.
Well, and I think that
she looked dead.
Yeah, I think that's, again, I think that maybe the second half of the movie is when it kind of gets better in whatever mode it's getting into, and I think that's the only reason I gave it sort of a halfway rating, is because I understand what they're going for, and I think my response to it is a lot of it's just me just hating the character so much, and sometimes it can influence my overall thoughts about it. But
yeah, for me, I think it just got a little more insulting. I don't know. I felt insulted by the film, but I get, everybody reacts on their own. So there you go. Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see what other people who see it think about it. Please let us know. Comment below or the video and stuff. Let us know what your thoughts on it. Did you have a similar reaction to me or Doc, or were you like Jeff, or maybe you're middle though, or maybe you thought it's the best thing since cornbread? I don't know.
Cornbread. All right. Well, there you go.
Money on it. You got me.
That's our review of Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism. It is out now on VOD. Check it out. Let us know, like you said, what you think in the comments down below. Christopher, Jeff, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
You're welcome.
The power of Christ compels you.
All right, let's say goodnight and get out of here.
Good night.
We're waiting for Jeff. Oh no!
I think he's frozen.
The devil's got his tongue. All right, I'll say it for him. Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.